Vicki is the Program Manager for the Mine Water Coordinating Body, part of the Strategic Water Partners Network. She started out in hydrogeology but has moved quite far from that into sustainable environment and sustainability management, and is a strategist working across consulting, corporate and non-governmental spheres. Vicki, thanks.
Right, morning everyone. I'm a little apprehensive about following such an amazing presentation when we're referring to industry versus the real critical nature of equitability of water. But I just want to thank you for the opportunity to share some of the work that the mining industry is doing, and what we're undertaking to address water management and mine closure in the longer term. The first slide, I just wanted to introduce what the mining industry economically provides for the country before we put it into the water context. And in 2005, the Chamber of Mines and Stats SA reported the following, and it was that there's a 7.7% contribution to the total GDP of the country, 15% of foreign direct investment, 20% of private investment, 1.4 million jobs exist in the country because of mining, and 25% of total exports are due to mining. There are also a number of indirect contributions, such as the development of industries that supply the mining industry, and in addition, adding to the GDP and the job market in the country. However, this contribution has come at a cost to the environment. The activities of the mining industry have led to serious environmental impacts, including the deterioration of water quality resources, change in landscapes, destruction of soil profiles and wetlands, as well as many other impacts. This is also exacerbated in areas where there is a concentration of mining operations, such as in the Wits coalfields, the Mpumalanga coalfields, the Wits goldfields, and the Limpopo Platinum Belt. And it's therefore left to the few remaining, in the impacts of the Wits goldfields. This has become a serious risk to the water resources in that particular region, and unfortunately many of the mining companies that contributed to that historically have long left the building, as we all know. And it's therefore left to the few remaining mining companies and the government to deal with the resulting environmental situation. But to be fair, we should however acknowledge that when mining started in the Wits at the end of the 19th century, the industry didn't know what the long-term impacts on water would be. However, today we have far more knowledge and experience, and so research together with millions of rand spent in engineering has reduced the impacts that current mining operations have on the environment today. This, together with stricter mine closure legislation, has forced the industry to reconsider how they plan and they financially provide for closure. But again, we still have a long way to go. So how can we look at sustainable closure, and how can it be achieved? So before we ask this question, we should be asking, what should sustainable mine closure look like? Mine closure doesn't only impact the environment, it has a social impact on the communities living in these regions, as well as economic implications, because ultimately the primary industry which is supporting these regions will no longer be there after closure. So true sustainable mine closure needs to consider how the environment will be protected, how the economy in the region will change, and how the local communities will adapt to these changes. There needs to be planning and implementation on a regional scale, not just on an operational scale, particularly where these concentrated mining operations exist. So how do we achieve this? When mining companies traditionally work in isolation and each other, and ultimately the water and the environment don't adhere to these operational boundaries. Success is down to all of us, everyone in this room and everyone in this country. The mining industry needs to provide the necessary resources for mine rehabilitation and sustainable water management. Government needs to create an enabling policy environment for creative closure. Technical experts. We need these experts to guide the industry with ongoing technical solutions and innovative solutions to the problems that exist. Other industry sectors. They need to be able to embrace the future opportunities that are presented. So for example, where mining now ceases, what is the opportunity for those lands? We can then use agriculture, other industrial sectors that can come in and create new industries and opportunities in those areas where mining no longer exists. Civil society. Civil society needs to continue to challenge industry norms, but also support the positive projects and initiatives that the mining industry comes up with. And lastly, the community. The community needs to work with the mining industry and with the above stakeholders to communicate their needs and their part in the greater solution. But as we've heard earlier, I think it was Ulrika who mentioned the industry also needs to find new ways to engage with the local communities. We tend to apply the approach of, we know what's best for you, you just need to do what we're telling you to do. And we need to change that. How do we start off with doing this? So we need to start with a collaborative platform. And so what we've done is we've established a public-private collaborative platform, and it's an opportunity to address the long-term mine water management and closure challenges, as well as environmental, social, and the economic challenges that go with mine closure. Hence the mine water coordinating body that exists today. The initial focus of our body will be on the Mpumalanga coalfields. The main reason being is that the coal mining industry, together with the SWPN, has worked to create this platform, and also the opportunity exists in the Mpumalanga coalfields. For some of the other industries in the platinum belt, etc., this opportunity is still longer. They have a longer life of mine, and for the goldfields, it's a more different challenge. Whereas in the coal fields, we have a 30 to 40 year life of mine remaining. So everybody's still there, everybody still has the cash, and we still have the opportunity to make the differences we need to make. DWS, or Department of Water and Sanitation, also sees this as a model for other mining regions. So they're seeing this as a pilot, and if successful, they will roll it out to the other larger concentrated mining areas. So just to give you an idea of our partners, we have 5 of the larger mining corporations that mine coal in the country. We also have Eskom on board, as well as Chamber of Mines, the Water Research Commission, and we also have our 2 key departments, which is DMR and DWS. We're also working with DAF and DEA to get them on board as well. And as well as these, we also want to work with the smaller mining companies. So we're also trying to engage with the smaller mining companies. They're just as important as the larger corporates in making that difference and making a change regionally. So what are the benefits to this collaboration? So we have a neutral platform for engagement. Very often if we feel that government is taking control or the private sector takes control, then someone feels that they're not being engaged correctly, or there's a pull and a push in a direction, and everybody feels not in a safe environment to collaborate. It also gives us the opportunity to address new closure legislation requirements. They're quite stringent, and I think the mining industry is still grappling with how they're going to address those requirements. Also to address challenges associated with closure. And as I mentioned before, they're not just environmental, that's the easy bit. Research and implement collaborative projects. For too long, the mining industry has worked within themselves. Anglo does their projects, Glencore does theirs, etc. And we need to work at working together on collaborative projects. Regional closure, regional water treatment, regional solutions to how we're going to address the economy going forward. Also not working with the community as companies. So Anglo says this to the community, then Glencore says that, and we all have a different voice. We need to be talking as an industry and engaging effectively with communities and local government and national government, and we all need to be talking the same language to achieve a common goal. Also to joint funding of projects. A lot of these projects that need to come on board are going to cost millions and billions, and no one organization can do that on their own. So if we can joint fund through government, through NGOs, through mining industry finances, we can actually make these projects more successful than doing them in individual boxes. Also, we need to identify operational partners. Fact is, the mining industry's core business is to mine. We're not into water treatment, we're not into agriculture. Some are moving into those areas, but for the most part, we need to find partners that we can work with that are specialists in these fields and can implement these projects. Don't expect a mining engineer to implement a successful agricultural project. It's not going to happen. But I think most importantly, it's about leaving a positive legacy. Mining has always, up to date, not necessarily left a positive legacy, and we need to change that going forward. So, the Mine Water Coordinating Body is not actually about talking about sustainable closure. We actually need to demonstrate that we are doing it, and so we're looking at projects to achieve this. We've been given a 3-year mandate by the industry and government to prove our success, so we're taking it in smaller chunks. So these are the 3 main projects that we've taken on board now, and we're investigating as we go forward to take on additional projects. The first one, this is a project that has probably started 10, 15 years ago, and It's been a controversial one and it's been ongoing, but we now have the support of Water Affairs, and we're now working on proving a case, and it'll change a lot of how we use our mine water. So this project, the idea is that it's together with the Water Research Commission and University of Pretoria. The study will evaluate the use of saline mine water for irrigation, and I don't mean AMD, I mean saline mine water. So the pH is of a reasonable value for agriculture. And it'll investigate the irrigation of saline-resistant crops, such as wheat and soya, with the further potential of other crops, such as those used in the biofuels industry. The project will extend over a total of 60 hectares, and it'll be virgin land as well as rehabilitated land, and will make use of central pivots. And there'll be a total of 1 megalitre per day roundabout used for the project. The purpose of the study is to determine if there are longer-term impacts of irrigating with saline water, both on the local groundwater as well as on the food crops, if they're safe for food, human and animal consumption. If this is successful, it will allow saline water to be used for irrigation under controlled conditions, and it can also extend the growing season for crops in the region. But I guess in this particular forum, it would actually also reduce the amount of fresh water that can be used for agriculture, in that we can then find a different purpose for water and save our potable water for more appropriate uses. And then our big chunk project, which some people don't believe we'll achieve, but we're going to prove them wrong, and that is our green engine project. This is a very exciting project that Anglo put forward, and everybody in the industry is supporting. And it's an exciting project which we believe will change the view of mine closure and within the industry and outside of the industry. So it's a demonstration project, and it's to prove the viability of an integrated land stewardship model, where agriculture, renewable energy, and other business opportunities such as food processing and waste beneficiation will work together in an integrated system. It's proposed that there will be agricultural businesses such as food crops, livestock rearing, and specialty crops requiring the use of greenhouses. Oh, I don't know where the magic, I'm terrified I'm going to do something wrong here. Over there in the picture. And the idea is that the waste that's generated from these businesses can then be used in a biogas plant, which will function on that waste as well as waste that can be delivered from other sources in the region. Mine water will be treated to agricultural standards using passive or semi-passive technology to be used by the various agribusinesses on site, and will also then be powered by the renewable resources of the energy, such as the biogas plant on site. The solar farm is also being considered, should it be seen to be economically viable. And the project intends to address both the environmental challenges related to open-cast mining, while also offering the opportunity to the local community members to start businesses, or if they don't want to start a business, then to find employment within these businesses on site. Given the size of the project, it will be implemented in a phased approach. So some people ask, how are you going to achieve this in a big scale? We're going to take it in chunk by chunk, and we're going to work with different partners, which we've all identified for some of the projects, and work and systematically work through the project. In the case of this, each element has to be economically viable in its own right. For a very long time, we do corporate social investment projects that aren't necessarily economically viable, and so they fail, and so we decide that social investment is a failure project in itself. So we will work together with these community members to ensure that these are economically viable and sensible for what they need. The Arnott Regional Water Scheme, this is probably a little bit more in the space of what the mining industry is used to. And the idea with this is that we want to try and identify an opportunity to regionally treat water in the Arnott area. So there's a number of operations in that area that are closed, exist, and future operations. And the idea is to develop a treatment plant or a treatment system that will address this water and find a partner to work with in terms of the technology provision, as well as a partner to then sell that water onto that's economically sustainable. The idea with this is that the mine water coordinating body will investigate these opportunities on behalf of these companies, and I think the biggest problem up to now has been, we always joke, the lawyers walk in the room and everybody walks out the room. So the idea is that we need to work collaboratively together and see the bigger picture rather than the smaller detail in contracts. And this work is crucial in identifying other opportunities in the area to then address the potable water issues as well for our community needs. And lastly, some of our ongoing work, which feeds into the greater scheme of things, is that before we can achieve regional closure successfully, we also need to understand what the regional economic picture will look like post-closure. And so we need to be working with different partners and investigating different opportunities and identifying implement partners for like food processing companies, cosmetic manufacturers, and some of the conversations I've had with others is even the cotton industry to grow that you can use saline water for irrigation. But ultimately the conclusion of what I have to say today is that it's important to understand that a single mining company cannot achieve mine closure sustainably in isolation, and that they all share a common environment and impact cumulatively on the surrounding communities. Collaboration within the industry together with key partners is necessary for the success. And something to leave you with is the closing of a mine does not have to be viewed as an ending, but rather a beginning for new and different opportunities. Thank you.